Minister, it's fair to say that the sense of partnership between the department and individual school communities is very much in non-existence. The feeling is that schools are being abandoned, that teachers, SNAs are being abandoned, that individual school principals are being abandoned. And what they've had as a source of comfort for the last 18 months and more has been the mantra from government that schools are safe. So when HEPA filters have been raised for the last 18 months, they've been told schools are safe. When antigen testing was being put forward as a tool in battling COVID within schools, we're told that schools are safe. Indeed, when the issue of substitution was raised with you, you seemed to be in some way surprised that that substitution was even being raised when everybody else in politics knew that schools were screaming out about the issues of substitution. Now, what I want to do, Minister, for you is to provide you with 3 possible solutions for the new year. I find it a bit discouraging as well, the lack of partnership within these houses as well, lack of political partnership. I wrote to you on this very day last month, the 16th of November, and I asked for you to meet with all spokespeople on education from all opposition parties, so collectively we could give to you what we're hearing from school communities, and so you could then act on them in a spirit of partnership. That meeting has not taken place. There's no sense that that meeting would ever take place, and in fact the only reason you're here today is because members of the opposition demanded it. So that lack of communication from you, even to members of the opposition, is mirrored by the lack of communication, poor communication from your department to individual school communities who feel as if they're not being listened to. And I want to say here bluntly to this House that the only reason schools are open and in any way functioning is because of the dedication, the patriotism and the genuine public service of our teachers, SNAs and principals, and all those volunteers that go with every school community, and the school caretakers and the school secretaries. And I would remind everybody, perhaps in future political debates or debates in public discourse, whenever people feel a need to criticise teachers again or SNAs again, they should remember this period of this pandemic, that it wasn't, to be honest, the political leadership of the government that kept schools open. It certainly wasn't the Department of Education's attitude that kept schools open. It was the teachers, the SNAs, the school principals, the secretaries, the caretakers, and everybody in those school communities. 3 things, Minister. 1, I think there needs to be an early decision on the Leaving Cert. I don't think it is tenable for us to say that the Leaving Cert can go back to the way it was in 2017, 2018, 2019 when it comes to 2022. I think the level of disruption that 5th year and 6th year students in this senior cycle have endured has been unfair. They missed out on some in-school teaching last year. They are now in a situation where effectively there's a substitution crisis at 2nd level, and a lot of what they would have been expecting to learn at the moment is just not being taught. So I think an acknowledgement of that early from your department would be welcome, and that we have a situation rolled out this year as happened last year. Let's just do it. Let's just acknowledge that they've lost out and that we can have a hybrid model of in-school examination, written examination, allied with the assessed grade model as was rolled out last year. Because I think, in fairness, any 2nd level principal will tell you that they're not learning as they should be. And whatever adjustments that your department are saying to us in the Education Committee are going to be rolled out are just not going to go far enough. Secondly, we can't treat every school the same when it comes to this pandemic. I have areas in my constituency which are the highest infection rate in the country. Why don't we have a crack team of education and public health officials proactively engaging in these schools when they have a raft of students out and half their staff out? And then proactively engage with them as to what resources they need, be it HEPA filters, be it other resources. Why do we have such a generalised view of what every school community is doing? It's not hard to get the data. Here's a high infection rate area. Here's an area where it's clearly a problem. Here's an area where the school is obviously struggling. Let's proactively engage with that school. What actually happens, a school in my constituency, the highest infection rate in the country a number of weeks ago, 55% of the students out, can't get anybody on the phone for a week. So that's a practical suggestion for you, Minister, that let's just get rid of the trench warfare between different departments and let's work together and identify areas where the infection rate is high, and let's proactively engage with those schools. But that would, of course, take the Department of Education to actually believe that they have a role in the day-to-day management of schools, because the attitude which you have inherited, Minister, is that you're on your own. And the third thing, Minister, as a practical suggestion, I see here that the rollout for vaccination for 5 to 12-year-olds is going to take place in vaccination centres in the new year, and that's welcome. It's going to be a game changer for education. Why aren't we doing it in schools? Why don't we roll out the vaccination for 5 to 12-year-olds, not in vaccination centres, but in schools? And while we're at it, why don't we vaccinate the school staff in the process? It just makes so much sense. You're asking, again, parents to go to a vaccination centre to get their children vaccinated. Why not proactively go to the school community, vaccinate the children on site and the staff, teachers, SNAs, secretaries, caretakers, at the same time? It makes absolute perfect sense. It's been done before. So, Minister, 3 things. Let's change it even certain, do what we did last year. Let's have proactive engagement with areas of high infection rate in a way that will make a difference. And thirdly, let's do the vaccination of young people where they are learning in order to ensure that our schools can remain open.
We're over time. Back to